Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm back on my Just Because quilt. I've done all my homework and now we've got one more Friday left for the month of October. Then goodness me, that month is done and we can start block number 3. How exciting. So embellishing and mark making stitches. So when I say mark making stitches, that's just doing some random stitching around the place. If something seems a little plain, just do some stitching. The other thing is getting my threads for this. Now, fudgy's on the table too, so just heads up, there could be a pussycat walk into the screen. At the moment, he's scruffing his little jowls on all the edges on containers around the place. Hey, Fudgy. He's going down onto the chair and he's hopping down. Just a quick visit, it would seem. So where was I? So I want to select the threads that I'll be using here. So I have all my pinks here. Probably need more taupey colours looking at that there. Let's see what we've got. I don't want a lot. Oh, this container. You know when you buy a cheap container and it's like, oh, you know, I'll save X dollars. But then that container is like annoying for the rest of its time. These little lugs here don't seem to be moulded properly. It's not from my usual haunt. It's from another big company. I won't say their name. And it's obviously got a fault in the mould. And I'm like, well, I'll just use it until it breaks. Then I'll spend the extra $3 probably, I can't remember, and get a container that will actually hold its own. So anyway, I digress. Every time I open that lid and it does that, it gives me the pip. So I'm liking that. So it really is just embellishing around the flower, but ever so subtly. So I'm thinking I need this one here. I did a little outline stitch. So I think I need an outline stitch. What are we going to use for that? There's sort of no colour jumping out at me. That's great for the rose. I think I need more muddy tones. Maybe I use something like that. That would certainly highlight it. Might be better within the rose. Let me grab my taupey tones. Play it safe and grab the neutrals. Okay, let's have a little look in here. Oh, what's that colour? Yes, Fudgy. You've got plenty in your bowl. I think he's just yapping. Yeah, that's it. Don't overthink it. Plan is to, let me grab a needle, just do some highlight stitching. The other thing I want to do is flip this over and work. So I think that needle, I've got all my bits in my little travel. I want to do some, I've got my red here. I want to do some stitching on the big doily too. I don't know if it'll work, but I think it will. Let's have a look at this, if this colour is going to work. So I've got to bury my knot. So I'll just do a simple little knot, trim its tail. Oops, pull it out. So I hope you're all well. Hope you've all had a good week and you've got something exciting planned for the weekend. I've got nothing really planned. Try not to make too many plans these days. Life gets in the way of them anyway, so I just don't plan anything at the moment. There's something liberating about that, you know. The next big thing is our trip to America in March. But it seems like a long way away, so all right, now I'm going to sneak my needle in because I'm close to an edge, so that'll work. I'm just going to do a little running stitch around the perimeter of the printed flower. Let me just zoom in so you know what I'm saying. There we go. Gosh, it looks big on the screen now. So it really is just slipping through the layers with a little bit of this thread. Oh, Fudgy smooching big time. I swear he understands my speech to him. Might be too much to assume, but I'm positive that I can chat to him. Definitely me, not so much my husband. He'll say things to him and Fudge just blatantly ignores him, and it's obvious. But sometimes I talk to him and he replies, and if I change the tone of my speech, he replies. Now, I'm thinking I will still go across all those leaves. I could scoot through to the other side, but I'm going to go across. So that's all I'm doing, is just putting a little dotted stitchy edge around it. This sort of helps me not have to do the whole thread painting thing, so I still get something interesting happening, like a little outline, and then I can do limited stitches within the rose itself to sort of build up something of a little feature, and they'll be scattered throughout my panels. I have created a little pile of fabrics that have these bold, loose-ish artwork type floral pictures. It's like the more you look at the quilt, the more little things I want to find when it's sitting on your lap. I used to have a quilt on my bed as a kid, and it was just a printed image, but it was a real paisley 70s print, and it was golds and yellows and a hint of a green, sort of like that green there. And it was one of those designs that the more you looked, the more shapes you saw, even though it was a simplistic colour palette. And I know, I used to stare into that. It was quite a calming thing for me as a kid. And I probably only had it on my bed from probably 13 onwards, when I got my own room, when the spare room in the house became available because my grandfather had passed. It sat vacant for a little while, and it was sort of getting to the age where my brother and I, we had shared a room. It was a big room, and his bed was one side, my bed was the other. We only had a small farmhouse, and Granddad was living with us at that time. But it was getting to the point where we needed our own space. So I got to choose the colour paint for the room, picked a soft pink, and we painted the room. And I got the big iron 4-poster bed that was my dad's parents' bed. They still have it. It's still at the farm. And that was my bed. Plus they put in there a old dining table. Now in my head, it was huge. Big timber turn dining table. But it's now Dad's actual kitchen table at their house. And it's actually not that big. But it just felt so big and imposing in that bedroom because I had this big 4-poster bed and then this big timber table, but it's probably only 1200 by 800. It's not big at all. And as an adult, when I look at it, I'm thinking, wow, that seemed to be a monster. And that's where I could do my homework, which I never really used it for that because I always did my homework out on the kitchen table. I just hated sitting by myself in the bedroom. I was a social person. And if I couldn't use the kitchen table because, you know, there was a meal being prepared or, you know, whatever reason, I would sit with my homework on my lap on the couch. And every so often Mum would say, why don't you go to your bedroom? You've got a desk in there. And I'd be like, no. This is where I want to do it. And it was purely, I would say, just feeling like I was still part of the activity in the home. I was definitely not one of those kids that would spend hours in their bedroom. Not a chance. The moment the sun was up, I was out. As soon as my eyes were open, I was out. So that's that stitch done. I'm just going to bury that knot in under there. Cut off way too much thread. That needle too, the eye is too small and it's really roughed up the thread. So if anything, I've actually destroyed the integrity of that. So let's put that little guy away. He is not right. We need a bigger eye. Okay, so now I go to the additional colours and have a little stitch. But he's gone back to bed. That didn't last long. I'll start with the darker one, just a little bit. So nothing real new and exciting here for you guys. You've seen me do this 100 times. That needle's still not correct. Where's the one I was using to do all the running stitch? I might actually go to a chenille needle. That way I know it's got a nice eye. It's got a good eye. It's not going to damage the thread. A big bodgy knot. Oh, goodness me. Okay, so where and what am I going to do? I might work around. I like to bury it if I can, so I'm going to slither that little guy in there. Oh, now it's become unthreaded. Seriously painful. Alright, so it's just, oh gosh, getting my hands in position, guys. Okay. Just going to do some random little stitches. I'm going to pretend it's a paintbrush and it's just little strokes of stitch. Doesn't have to be filled in. It really is just about putting texture within the print. Now that I've committed to one of the colours within that print, wherever it is, I will just do some little stitches. That's it. So it's not that intense thread painting that you'd expect to do if you're doing a piece along the lines of Fleur Woods, where the whole work is worked. This is just loose. Like the whole quilt's got this big camphor quilt feel, you know. It's sort of not fine embroidery, even though I have fine embroidery on my piece as some of my highlighting. I didn't want to get into that. I'll keep going until I use this little piece. Oh gosh, you can't even see. And then I'd have to decide whether I do another colour or just leave it at the one colour. I think that first rose I just did the one colour, which I'm sort of thinking I might do here, and just follow the little edges on all the petals. That's not rose down there, so I would then scoot up here and drop a few stitches there. And that is pretty much how I will treat this flower. It's got its outline stitch, which helps give it that quilted feel. And I'll get one more stitch, then I'm just going to slide under my work a little. And that should then allow me to essentially cut my thread off. It's tricky when you've got your piece already stitched because it's hard to get your knot. Then just sort of mush it down a bit so it feels like it's been sitting there for a while. You know what? I'm going to put that colour away. It's just not right. I only need the one. So I'll just put that in my little tray for my homework. Now, I want to flip this over. I'm going to bring the camera up. That's it. And I'm going to flip it over to the back. So there's nothing else to do on this front unless a piece of lace falls out and joins the party somewhere. But at this stage, I don't have anything real special. So I'm going to leave it at that and just embellish that flower. Now, this doily, I have stitched everything down and I changed my direction a few times, which gave me, oh, there's that needle I was using, which gave me an interesting background, which is what I was concerned about. What I just didn't want the lines. So the front, I did just one side of stitching and didn't let it come through. So that allowed me to do this, do a bit of this, do a bit of this. And I did the same over here with this. This is just a little bit of directional change and I really like it. So I think going forward, I will do that a little bit. If I've got a piece that's a bit special on the back that I want to control the direction of the stitch, I won't come through when I'm putting down these guys. If anything, the back has become more complex than the front, which is interesting because it was all about the front. But because I've got these special bits, I've had to really think about, you know, how my stitch sits. Now the doily itself, there was such debate about how I treat the print and I decided I'm not touching it. I like the fineness of it. There is no way I could get that reproduced. I was chatting to Susanna some time back that if this was washed, that might disappear. Well, it doesn't, it's ink. I had a little test and it's not going anywhere. So I can rely on that black line to stay. I love this work. That's not me. That's the lady that never finished the piece. Yes, it's a little tatty and yes, it potentially might disintegrate more, but I'm just going to leave it. I can't match those colours because they're just dye lots that I don't have. So what I thought I might do is using what I do have, this crochet cotton, pearl cotton, is maybe do a stitch through there. That edge would be where you would crochet an edge to a doily, like this. So those little holes there are those little holes there. And this would be trimmed back once a crocheted edge. Oh, maybe I could add that somewhere. Anyway, stay focused. Yeah, so what I thought I might try, I don't know if I like it, is this is a pretty good match. I'm going to attempt to do some form of stitch in there. So we'll give it a go. If we don't like it, I'll remove it. If I do, I just feel like it might frame it a little bit. So I've got my edge here where my next panel one day will join in. So I'm going to sneak into the work back a bit from there because I can always pick up this step. Look, I've caught that fabric, so I can't do that. We don't want the red peeking through. There we go, onto this side. So once again, I'm hiding my stitches. Now, what stitch am I going to do? A running stitch or a back stitch or a split back stitch? So we've got holes. So what if we went every other hole and like a running stitch, like I'm cording a lace through? Let's have a look at that first. So it's subtle. And I'm just rocking through those holes, catching the background a little bit. I like that. You know why? Because I can still see the fabric. And I think it tells me that those holes are there. Where if I did a solid line like that, I think it would look... what if I do... I'll do a little bit of back stitch. I need to be able to pull it out, so I don't want to split any stitch. No. See, I'm seeing underneath the hole. No. I think it would bug me that I would still see the holes are too far apart. And as I fill that in, I can still see the wadding underneath. It's ever so slight, but I can see that it's there. So I think I'm going to embrace the little holes by not covering them up too much. Does that make sense? Please let me get this out because I don't want to have to start again. Oh, no, come on. I knew that was fraught with danger, that I'd split my stitch, and I have. Good one. All right, where's that little red end? You, my friend, are going to start again. So I'm going to snip that little knot. I'm going to attempt to get this out. What do I do with the needle? And start it again. All right. See, that's tricky because I want to save the integrity of that edge, but just highlight it a little and not be such a big chunky stitch. I need a bigger piece. Like, seriously, I'm going to the party with one shoe. Come on. Otherwise, you've got to join, you've got to bring it back in, knot it off, start again, and why do it to yourself? Just let's get around to that opposite edge. Now, the other thing that I want to have a think about is that little piece of cut quilt to the side of this has a couple little holes in it. And I've been tossing around this. There, it's sort of there. It is so thin. I've been tossing around what I do with that. So that's my next decision I've got to make. Option one would be to embellish with something that could patch over the holes, like a piece of fabric or a bit of embroidery, a little doily. Option two, do some mending stitch. All right, I've got my needle in position. Do some mending stitching. So I just do some intense stitching there to repair it. I'm just not sure. Like darning. Yeah, this is what we want. Just rock the needle through the little holes. It's just a subtle little detail. I still don't know if I'm going to cut this doily or leave it in one piece. You know what's stopping me is this is so big. It's a massive bag. This is reasonably sized, and then there's smaller from there, but not too much smaller. And I'm concerned that this big guy would be the only big thing. So maybe I need another big thing, big-ish thing, even though that doily is probably only a third of the size. But then my creative head is going, woo, and you know, another bit of those beautiful colours and that print elsewhere would be really cool, because you've only got the one. Like, making it go further is what I'm trying to say. I don't think it'll be a decision I can make until block number 4, which will be you know, potentially directly above it, and that piece would become part of block number 4's background. Yeah, we're not going to know until we start getting a bigger picture on some of those types of decisions. So many decisions, don't you love it? It's great. Gives you something to think about while you're doing just simple stitches. Yeah, I like that. Yep, that was what we needed. You just needed that little peek through of colour, so it wasn't a hard line. I hope I'm not going through to the other side. Nope. Love the numbers. 970 printed, I'm guessing. Could have been a catalogue number. They wouldn't, yeah, it would have been. They wouldn't have changed that to number 12, number 13. It's not a bloomin' painting, girl. That would be its catalogue number. Is that 1970? The 11th month? Ooh. I don't know. Maybe it's not a catalogue. Maybe it's the date it was printed. Does anyone know? Let me know in the comments if you're familiar. See how that stroke is bigger than the 9? To me, that's not a 1, but maybe it was. 1970 November. Just going to pull those little tassely bits back out of the way as I sneak through here with my stitch. Yeah, I love this. I was so worried too that if I did stitch this, Susanna even suggested using a permanent pen if this was going to wash off, and I was like, oh, I don't know. It'll look like I've been drawing on it. It won't be as sharp. So I got a little bit more concerned that I didn't even twig that this could be a print that would wash away. But it's okay. Maybe that was thing that came later, these washable inks. I don't know. I'll have to do a bit of... Someone out there do some doily printing research and get back to me. When did the washable ink thing start? Sounds like late 70s, early 80s to me, that type of printing technology. You go back earlier, maybe it was just ink. You just had to be clever with your stitches to cover it. Oh, I love this. Love, love, love it. It's one of those pieces that's been rattling around in my cupboard for a little while, and it's like, no, it's special, keep it. You know, from my Botanical Beauties, I love pieces that aren't finished. I just love the fact that someone else has helped me with the project. I think that's a little bit special. Okay. Just finish this. I won't have much homework to do the way I'm going here. Just my flowers so far, unless I think of something genius for this little patch to the side of me, my little laundry holes. Don't know why I'm worrying too much, like the whole thing is full of fraying edges and that. I thought there might be a little something I could do. This thread colour too, I'll take to the front and use that as a bit of mark making somewhere too, just to sort of drift it all together. Now we're coming up the side, soon to reach the end edge, the block edge. And then because I've got thread left, so where is our edge? Yeah, I'm there pretty much. Don't go any further, girl. I'm just going to leave it there, I think. Leave that there for a rainy day. I can continue it on. Okay, got dangly bits everywhere. Now I've got threads dangling. All right, let's have a think about this. Am I concerned that there's some little holes? Can I put something there and there that doily that I had in my hand a minute ago? That would certainly patch it, wouldn't it? Such a cutie. No, I don't think I can do it. Let's have a little look in here. Don't think that's big enough, but it certainly fits the style. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, hello. I think that might just do it. I'd say if I got the flower over the two holes, yes. Oh, I'm cutting it out. Do I use that edge? No. Fussy cut it out, girl. Now I'm going to bring it reasonably close because I'm just going to overcast stitch it down like I did the doily over the other side. I can just use a white thread or a cream thread. I really want to follow the design so it looks like a shadow line of white. This is perfect. What a perfect way to patch. I guess if you think back in time and there was a hole in a skirt or a hole in a blouse and there was an opportunity to put a little pretty embellishment, especially on a little girl's dress or something. I could see my grandmother doing that. Suddenly you had some embroidered flowers on your shoulder because you ripped it climbing through a barbed wire fence. Oh, perfect. Yep, perfect. The only thing I would consider doing is losing that and coming in a little tighter to get rid of more white. Yeah, just seems a bit blobby. I want it a little finer. So they're going to, because they're not connected. See, they've just put a little stitch out there on their own. So I'm just going to sneak in here a little. I'll get a little bit more pink popping through on this. It'll make it feel finer and not such a slap down blob of a, I think. Come on, nibble that little bit out. The knot's still secure, good. Yeah, that's better. So we're going to go round. I'll need a very sharp needle, fine, so that I don't put big gaping holes in this little edge. Yeah. So now I need to actually nibble out there a little more. See, that now looks blocky to me. It's one of those little elements that when it's on my lap, I'll be like, oh, look at you sitting there, little blue flower. All right, so hole, flower. Love it. And I actually like how my stitches change direction there. See, these are all coming down. These are coming across. I like it. Okay, so we're going to pin you down. And that will be overcast stitch around the edge with a really fine needle and a little bit of sewing machine cotton. I wouldn't use anything thicker because you risk fraying your work, your little fussy cut piece. Here's my Reginald's cousin. Going to put a little sneaky knot in the end so that he stays on the needle. I should be able to just get myself anchored in underneath the piece with a couple little stitches. Now I could put some glue in position as well, but I don't think I need to. I think I can do fine enough stitching around this little guy. So I'm just going to bring my needle thread back out to this edge. And when I have something really fine like this, I like to come up through the fabric from the bottom, the penetrating stitch, and then out here I'm back on the actual quilt. So it's up to you, but I just find that that's a better hole. I'm probably over-analysing it. I'm just sneaking my stitch right up on that blue flower. It's quite strong there due to the stitching. And just doing a tiny itty-bitty overcast stitch. Nice and close. I'm trying to do it all in one move instead of the classic stab stitch where you go up and down, up and down. That's just less movement for my hands. So I think that's probably it. I've got another little embellishment on. I will finish my flower. I'll take a bit of this red thread to the other side and do a little bit of stitching. And that is block number 2. So thank you to all of those who are joining in. It's fantastic seeing all your quilts. Oh my goodness. And Dawn, her quilt from her channel is a Christmas one. There's some beautiful memory quilts. Okay, it's fiddly, but it's good. Just take my time. Got a little bit of homework at least. So I look forward to the next Friday, which will be into November, and kicking off with the next block. How exciting. I'm just slipping away into thought now to get your rhythm going. This will get a little soft frayed edge about it as things are washed and worn and that, but I'm okay with that because I've got little frayed edges everywhere. Some of the pieces I've needle turn appliqued, some of them I've just stitched on like this, just straight onto the quilt. Now it's come unthreaded again, even though I had that little knot. All right, guys, I might toddle off. I'll keep my eyes peeled for any gorgeous little piece of lace that may happen to fall out. And if it makes it on to block number 1 or 2, great. If not, well, it doesn't matter. I might end up having a lace day where I've got 2 or 3 blocks done in front of me and I just look at laces that can be put on. You know, you don't have to do every step on every block. Let your quilt evolve. We've got time. Just let it come to life. give yourself the space to, you know, find treasures. All right, this is boring viewing for you. I might toddle off. No, I said that a minute ago. I'll just get to the corner of that leaf. There we go. The corner is now secure. I'll just leave that needle there. That's going to be my home rack. I've dealt with that, and I do want to, you know, find some other spots where I can put a little bit more of that red in, and I've got my dusty pink to just work that flower a little bit more. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye. You guys have a great weekend, and I will catch you in November. Goodbye. See yous.